To begin to answer this question, we will break it down into two scenarios. One scenario would be whether Edward is on the team, and the other scenario would be whether Edward is not on the team. So let's go ahead and let's look at those two scenarios separately. Let's start with the case where Edward is not on the team. If Edward doesn't participate, then Paul doesn't participate either. That leaves 4 students to fill 4 slots. So there is exactly one team that can be formed from this case. Now, since we only have one team that can be formed from this case, let's go ahead and take a look at the other case where Edward is on the team. If Edward participates, then Milner will not. So Edward is one person on the team, leaving 3 of the remaining 4 people to compete on the team. So one slot is filled by Edward. And there are 3 slots to be filled by picking from 4 people. So we need to determine how many different ways we can choose 3 out of the 4 remaining people to fill these 3 slots. To do this, we'll use the combinations formula, since the order in which people are picked actually doesn't matter. So there's a couple of different notations for combinations. We can write 4 people, and we're using the combinations formula, and we're choosing 3. Now this formula is going to give us 4 factorial, so the number of people that we have in total, divided by how many we're picking, so 3 factorial, times 4 minus 3 factorial. Now all I have to do is simplify this, and this should give us the number of ways that we can choose 3 people from a set of 4. So let's go ahead and simplify a little bit. Since we have 3 factorial in the bottom, we can go ahead and break apart 4 factorial into 4 times 3 factorial divided by 3 factorial times 4 minus 3 is 1. And 1 factorial is just 1, so we can replace that with 1. But if we take a look at the numerator and denominator, 3 factorials will actually cancel. So simplifying this a little bit more, we have 4 left in the top over 1, which will equal 4. So this means that there are 4 different teams that can be formed, since there's 4 different ways that we can choose the different combinations of people. So these are 4 different teams. If we take a look at what the question is asking, we're asked how many different teams can be formed. So from the 2 different scenarios, Edward's not on the team and Edward is on the team, we have one scenario from the first, or one team that can be formed from the first scenario, and 4 different teams that can be formed from the second scenario. So if we sum these, we actually have the total teams would be the first team that can be formed from the first scenario plus the 4 that can be formed from the second scenario. So that's 5 different teams that can be formed. And if we scroll back up, we actually have 5 as one of the answer choices, and that would be answer choice C.